Hey, welcome to the Kokosing Gap Trail, one of Knox County's most active recreational activity sites. This 14-mile recreational trail starts in Mount Vernon and it winds its way all the way to Danville.
Passes through a couple of very nice villages, Gambier and Howard, the most notable. Those are kind of evenly spaced. We got a mixture of kind of farm and forest and stream along the way, and that makes for, I think, a real nice experience for citizens. That they sometimes they're in the open with fields, sometimes they're being surrounded by trees. Another interesting attractions on the trail include our bridges. We have small bridges that might only be 10 feet long, but we have two very large trestle bridges with piers in the middle and sandstone piers and bases, and the big metal architecture. They're really interesting in the early part of the trail. Have a sandstone tunnel underneath the state highway in Howard.
This serene trail is ideal for biking, skating, walking, and more, with markers that notify the visitors of the distance they've traveled.
All kinds of people are out here on the trail. You've got children that are just learning how to ride tricycles and learning how to rollerblade. You've got middle-aged people working on their cardiovascular fitness. Families show up, single people come here. You got our senior citizens can come out in the middle of the day when the weather's perhaps the nicest in the spring and the fall. And secondly, it lets you get outdoors and experience Knox County at its best. A real showcase for the county, I think.
The Kokosing Gap Trail wasn't always a pathway for leisure and recreational activities. The trail, in fact, is paved over the former Pennsylvania Railroad bed. This transformation is considered to be the most successful example of what's been termed rails to trails.
The history of the trail begins at least in the 1980s as a trail. Prior to the 1980s, it was an abandoned railroad bed, and there are still people in the county that can tell you about the trains that came through here going to Gambier. That's how the students used to arrive there. But in the 1980s, especially under the guidance of Phil Samuel, he had a dream of building one of the first rail-to-trails in the state of Ohio.
One memorable stop along the trail is the Chesapeake and Ohio caboose that's permanently parked in Gambier. At the 10-mile marker in Howard, your kids will love the playground set. When you make it to the end of the Kokosing Gap Trail in Danville, you can hook up to the Mohican Valley Trail on your way to the Bridge of Dreams.
We've tried to restore things in kind of a historical perspective and even build with the history in mind. So our restrooms are a little bit modeled after the former railroad depot in Gambier. And it's not unusual for people to say, we go to an awful lot of trails in Ohio or in Pennsylvania or West Virginia, and this is our very favorite. We get people that come back here again and again because of they like the small villages that it goes through, they like the mix of field and forest, the streams, the restaurants, they like small town, small county America.
Whether you're here for a fitness program, just to take a nice, enjoyable stroll, or appreciate the history behind Ohio, you won't find a nicer place than the Kokosing Gap Trail.